Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Sulaiman Ben Sware coming back on Facebook Live. If you just give me a minute, let me share this video and we can start the program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Today is Thursday, the 31st of March 2022. The time is just gone a minute past 4 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. Thank you. Guys, we are going to discuss the state of affairs, and you have to bear me a minute because I'll take a personal journey to explain, to give context to the discussion. And what we're going to start with is the Barrow we selectively refuse to accept. Barrow we selectively refuse to accept. What I'm saying that at different moments people accepted Barrow, but we refuse to accept the real Barrow. I mean selectively. We refuse to accept the real Barrow. We want to accept a Barrow that we have in our head. And the other point is politicians and creating the greater good. Yes, politicians are selfish. Political parties are selfish. Yes, regardless of which party you belong to, that's my thought. They do advance the greater good, but we will find them wanting in most cases, where it comes to their interest, what they perceive to be their interest, It's always in there, and it's across the board, and it's everywhere in the world. That's what politics, comes out of. And what does that do is breed in the personal interest as well. It goes together. Personal interest, disregarding national interest, party interest, disregarding national interest. We'll touch on that. And touch on an anti-establishment position. Why an anti-establishment position? And this is where I'm going to start with my position, because I always take my position to be an anti-establishment position. And I know, we'll get to details of this. But what we mean is, if someone shows you who they are, you have to accept them for who they are. You don't start to make up who they are based on your relationship with other people or how other people perceive him. I think we had ample evidence from the beginning who Barrow was. Why do we, this point to now, people kind of surprised of what Barrow is doing, what Barrow is saying? That's where the consistency comes in. Either some of us never had the lenses to look at things, looking at the integrity of matters, and looking at the greater good. These are the only two explanations. Because if anyone was watching or following or have interest in Gambian political history, would understand that the route Barrow was taking. But at any time, we have political parties supporting that position up till now. And this will continue. And the outcome, we'll discuss about that. As we talk about politicians, individuals become politicians, individual from political parties, individual interests bind together to form political parties, individual what you call them mutual interests or ideology, whatever it is, bound together, and they form those political parties. But again, people will advocate that they're doing it for the greater good. People would advocate that they're doing it for, political parties would do, saying that they're doing it for the greater good. Yes, we can hear that, but we have to hold them to what they have proven. What have they done for that greater good? And in most cases, as individuals, people would label us. And I'll come to that. I've been labeled PDIS sympathizer. I've been labeled, UDP sympathizers. I've been labeled a job seeker. Does that mean I change my position? No. I hold on to my position because I know it's not true. That cannot change who I am. That's not who I am. They have not been proven right. But all those that have pointed fingers at me end up taking my position. And when they take my position, I don't go and beat them with a stick. No, don't take my position, don't take my position, no. Because I advocate for the greater good. I advocate for the greater good. If you believe in what I believe in, we are together. That's where the tolerance comes in. It's not about my opinion is superior to your opinion, my morals are superior to your morals. That's what we saw. We have to prove that who we are. And we're going to discuss that. And the anti-establishment position, I always say this. We have to understand politics. And Gambia, until we understand politics, we are not going to bring about change through politics. We will always end up, changing regimes and end up in chaos and chaos and chaos. An anti-establishment position is there for a reason. In politics, you have the establishment. We expect to have an anti-establishment. In the absence of anti-establishment, all you have is establishment parties, be it the government and what opposing the government. They are not opposing the government. They are just playing up for to grab power. And once they grab power, they become the government and status quo remain. What an anti-establishment does is to make it possible for radical ideas, you see, not to bring about change only by bringing the different individuals. It's the ideas. radical ideas to resonate, radical ideas to be forced through to people in power to start to change their ways of doing things. That's the first goal of an anti-establishment position or a movement. And gradually, that wins the confidence of the majority, and they will end up representing the majority, and that will bring about change and move from whatever it is. And if the anti-establishment party goes into government and start to maintain this thing, it's easier to remove them because they have advocated on the same platforms. Again, I know I will just give a reference again. I did these references before. I'm not going to go far again. I can give references from one to another. Just a quick one to give an example of what that means is. When we have the Conservative here, United Kingdom, and we have the Labour Party, people have to understand the evolvement of political parties to have a Conservative, what we call a Conservative party, the Tories, and what we have a Labour Party, and what we have a Liberal Democratic Party. And we have to understand their backgrounds, what they claim to represent. But what do they do once they're in power to maintain a status quo? And they serve an interest of the right, serve an interest of a left, which is a left of ideology, and mostly not impact on what they claim to impact on, or they take a middle ground to maintain power. Because when you take the middle ground, that's where you maintain power. You keep up the balance. We have the position. We understand that the Conservative, we are not powerful. We have landowners. We have aristocrats that governs with the monarchy. Medieval times, when not even Christianity was the influence. But how it evolves for even that medieval beliefs to be present in the Christian, the Christian establishment within politics. If you go to the House of Lords, you can see the evidence of medieval beliefs. But that evolves by to maintain power. To maintain power, the aristocrats and the monarchy have to realize that the wind of change is here. We can never maintain the land we hold, the influences we hold, until we give them a resemblance of sharing, giving them resemblance of ownership. That's how United Kingdom evolved into democracy. And that democracy, interesting, that's why we have the House of Lords. The House of Lords came a hereditary system to maintain the influence of the landowners and the monarchy. And they established the monarchy to be the head of state. And the people claim power by claiming the government and the prime minister as head of the government. You see, that's the evolution of the democracy in the United Kingdom. Who said we cannot have our own democracy based on our beliefs? Now, that evolution guarantees a representation of a second chamber, which is the House of Lords, by hereditary. It keeps on changing, it's evolving, because of the more people who claim their powers and rights. What does is it dilutes the powers of the aristocrat, dilutes the powers of the monarchy. When the monarchy have powers to chop off heads and do everything, that's been taken off. And progressively progress to the point that now the monarchy goes by public opinion. Monarchy have to pay a lot of use a lot of state money to gauge public opinion, spend a lot of state money to do a public relations in order to be popular. Because once they are not popular, they are not accepted, they will fall. You see, their powers have been reduced to asking the people to keep them there, not to demand the people to keep them there. This evolvement ensured what we have to have a party representation in politics. That's how the Conservative came about. Who are these Conservative? The second layer of power. Now, why are they Conservative? They believe their indigenous rights, they believe their superiority, they believe their subservient position of from the second to be you call them lower than the aristocrat, I mean, and they call themselves the other word for it, the class. I mean, in the class system. But again, we accepted there's something called a middle class, the upper class. Yeah, they accept the position of upper class now, being an upper class, and whatever they believe in their be it religion, be it their culture, or whatever they represent, values, or whatever they call themselves, the conservative. But again, they have an interest. Then we have what we call the liberals, the liberal Democrats that came from aristocratic families who were socialists, who decided that they want to move away from conservative, some of these conservative values. They want a liberal approach to doing things. That's the difference between the conservative and the liberals. You see, and the liberal Democrats that came from the Liberal Party. It was the Liberal Party, actually, not the Democrats. The Liberal Democrats came after. Liberal Party that came out from industrial owners that managed to open up, to have followers, to have influence, and decided they will take a part in this thing. Who was not represented here? For decades, these two main parties dominated politics in the United Kingdom, but again controlled by the landowners, the aristocrats, and the monarchy. That could become dilute until the unions, you see, evolved to understand that, look, we cannot have control if we don't have control over political power. That's where the Labour Party came out from, the people, the people representative. And you see, that's the evolution of political parties. To the extent of the liberal position was absolute, then they had to reinvent again to call themselves the Liberal Democrats. And now we have seen fringe because of the possibilities of the power base have broadened, because of you have lots of influences that comes in from migration and other things have changed a lot the dynamics of politics in the United Kingdom, to the extent of what the coming of social media make it possible for fringe movement, small movements. Individuals can be popular and build a movement against something, and that evolves to be a political party. It's not easy though to maintain a political power. And we have seen some of this fringe movement that came out from a party called Veritas, from a different party, from a party called UKIP. They all went in and out because it's not easy to maintain a political power. But it's easy to maintain a fringe position, an anti-establishment position, and to be influential. And again, to reference the position of an anti-establishment is example of that, of change they bring in, not through going into be represented, but the influence is the UKIP of the United Kingdom. They took an agenda, and one party agenda is to get out of Europe. And they forced that onto the conservative, again, through the conservative, they forced that into splitting the labor, because of the working class started to see the migrants as their opposition, migrants taking jobs, migrant this, migrant that, migrant that. You see, that position forced the poor, the conservative to give them give a referendum. Because in that elections, if they have not pronounced that referendum, their votes would have been split to the UKIP, and that would have ensured a Labour government. This is the evolution of political parties. Interests. With all these interests we can see as group interests or whatever interests, but you will be surprised how much of these interests are individual as well. How many of these interests are individual? How the corporate comes into this? Lobbyists. How many? Everything else. The policies. That serve their interest. They lobby for it. That's what politics is. Just to bring it back to Gambia. And that's why I said we have to, we don't name it. Politician is a politician. Not only what they say, but what did they do? We have to hold them to what they do. As I said, my position over the years, anti-establishment from United Kingdom. Just give another example, Senegal. Now, why is Pastef? I keep on saying why Pastef is resonating, because they're standing as an anti-establishment. Why the other establishment parties are losing power? Because of what they are gravitating to what an umbrella that the president have created in Senegal, Macky Sall. He have done a franchise and where a lot of money is being pumped, and all these establishment political parties are just finding a short route. Why would I stay in opposition? I mean, when I can be part of government and have the spoil of war, be for what I am for. That's what they stand for. They have their influence, they keep their mentality, and they keep on what? Dividing the people along tribal lines, dividing people along religious lines, and so on. Now, dividing people with fighting each other. That's why when I hear Gambians turn around to say, why Senegal, they don't insult, that's a lie. Now, insults is monetized in Senegalese politics. You have the opposition have platforms. Diaspora people now moving back to Senegal because of how much lucrative it is to be insulting the opposition. Diaspora, other members, citizens in the diaspora insulting politicians, insulting religious leaders. Because of it's monetized, they become famous and they make money out of it. That's what it's reduced to. Now you have an anti-establishment this thing that is resonating. And we have seen the last election. Now the establishment is entirely fighting that anti-establishment. That's why we have to understand the politics. My understanding of politics makes me hold a position, and my position is consistent. And that consistent can be defined from being labeled by different groups for representing different things. Where I have no fear to show if I have to belong in something, but no. Because I don't do this for personal gain. If it was a personal gain, I'll come to that. To give an example of this, that's why we have to be very careful. If we want to move forward, we have to define ourselves. Knowing that only change which comes through politics is by having an active anti-establishment that will help to change things within. Not actually, look, Sonko might not be a president. The next person to become president in Senegal might be someone else, even Macky Sall select, or someone else. But if all the anti-establishment even be frustrated and fail, and with a lot of bloodshed, Macky Sall can still maintain a touchdown. It's possible. That's what politics is. We have to understand the outcomes of politics, what it is likely to be. Yes, because there's a power of incumbency. There's a power of incumbency. It's not only about government, it's about the systems that government controls. How the government can influence civil society. How government can influence the private sector. How government can use the instrument of power within institutions which are supposed to be independent. The independent electoral council, the security forces, and so on. Yes, it's difficult to do that in Senegal, but it's not to say it's impossible. Because they have a more vibrant civil society. They have a broader base of a private sector, where and funding can be sourced from many aspects for the opposition. They don't just have to rely on for the anti-establishment. They have a broader base on the civil society, means that even religious sects have represented something, and now the government don't have a monopoly on any religious sect. You go to Touba, there's certain people who tell you that they are Sonkos, big marabouts, they are Sonko. And others, that never happened before in the time of Senghor or Abdou Diouf. What the Khalifa General says, that stays. You go to Tiwawan, we see the same thing. You go to everywhere else, you see the same thing. That's why we need to understand democracy. It's about, we will have our differences. What we have to be tolerant, to have an understanding and work through that. And if you believe that you have the national interest at heart, you dare not give up easily. You dare not even give up. There's not really giving up. You should know how to be strategic to engage. Not to waste your time to impact. Not to be dictated by your critics only. Your critics are important. To take them on board to give you balance. You need that balance. You need to be criticized. But that doesn't mean that it sways you to do things because of you don't want to be seen in another light. Then you are not who you are. You have to define yourself, what you stand for, before you come out and stand for something. If you believe that your setting is within political party, go on. But you can be a force of good within that political party. But often you'll be drowned. That's why we see certain people be dissolute and leave politics, dissolute to keep on moving political parties, dissolute to, becoming an anti-establishment. The important thing is the truth shall always prevail. It's a matter of time. And if you have principles in yourself, you have a consent, and that's why you always have to hold those principles and to guide you, regardless of what your political party does. If it's wrong, come out to say it's wrong. People respect you for that. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I am opening up my political party for ridicule. No. That ridicule is part of the process of democracy. Part of the process of democracy. But with the challenges we have in Africa, this is what we have to realize. And I give my position. Before the struggle, as I said, I was fortunate. My education is not through the classroom, but outside of the class. But look, I have learned a lot in the classroom, which is not about ABC or the 3 and 2s. But my education was through the interaction I have, through my peers, through my teachers, and society itself. What I enjoy most is my environment and the company I keep, the conversation I keep. Does it stimulate my mind? What does it say about me? This is where I always engage. And I was lucky to be inquisitive. Yes, due to certain disabilities I have, made me who I am. And I had that belief, I continue that. That led me to where my journey, between joining the army and everything else, was never as a job. I have never joined the army, as a job. I took it as a path. I needed this. It's an educational path. I need to find myself. It's a journey. Coming out of the army, just from the little bit of radicalism, anything I have, the immaturity I took to the army, I'll tell you, I came out with a lot. I was taught a lot. And that decision led me to protest to leave the army, because I could see where things were going. At a very young age, I left. Under 30 years, 1992. Just under 30 years. I left after serving 5 years. I was meant to serve 6 years. I protest. And through the period serving, I got to know a lot about how the state was operating. I could have put my head down and to serve the rest of the one year and leave, because I was not in the army for money. I was making more money outside my activities. I was not even making money. The most I earned in the army was less than $500 a month. Yeah, that was the rate. It was not that. I was making that easily from other activities I do, legal activities I do. I didn't have the need for the money. I was not married. I was comfortable, afforded a lot. I don't have to pay for housing. I don't have to pay for a lot of things. I could have just put my head down. But that's where I started to take the decisions that, look, something has to be done. And I realized that one thing is, if I am going to put myself into something, I have to have an element of control. If that element of control is not there, I have to get out. At the initial stage, we explored a lot of options. And one thing I refuse to stay and be part of those options are because of I cannot determine an outcome of this. You can start it, but you can determine it. And I have the wisdom again to see how it ended up in other countries. But I was worried for my country. What can I do? The other best thing I can do was to agitate. I went on a war to agitate. Why do I want to agitate? I want to put it out there, to put it out there to tell Gambians that this is going to happen. I went on owl to be prosecuted. I know what the penalties are, but I rather take those penalties and agitate. The worst I can be sentenced is 1 year in the rest of my service time in detention to serve my contract. I know that. But I choose that. It's less of a sacrifice to what is likely to come out. I want to blow a whistle. I want to be court-martialed. I was not given the opportunity because the command was smart enough to know what I was agitating, because they can see a political position in my statement. I was mic'd in. 3 seconds, I was discharged. I left. I had opportunity. I have opportunities. Yes, there are always opportunities in that country. They might be difficult, but at times we are fortunate to have networks that we can. I could have moved. And what's fashionable was to travel out. I assisted friends to travel out. Germany was one of the things, and other places. I never thought about that. Never thought about leaving Gambia. I would have a journey. I was concentrated on that. It's not about making wealth. Obviously, I need to maintain a lifestyle. Needed to earn. I was earning. I've run a butchery shop. I've run a retail shop. I double in forex. I double in big retail, wholesale of cigarettes, with people that know all of these things were lucrative. I left all this by choice, not that because of the business wasn't good. I was not satisfied. I was not going for the money. And I can see the impending danger coming. Because again, I was lucky during my education in the army was to understand how the systems operate. And the one thing I enjoy was co-founding a startup then, when the word startup was not even fashionable or not known to me. Startup, what was called Gumpin Studio, bringing youths together, creating an environment, sanitized environment that youths come in, and we give them skills. We put them in activities. We try to mold them. A sanitized environment where drugs are not being consumed. Yes, some of us probably are doing it in private or doing other things in private. But in this environment, we have youths who are looking up to us. We show them what they should aspire to, or how this. And today, most of those youths are something else, very creative. And because most of these youths come in, were seen as outcasts, are seen their creativity was not recognized because it was not mainstream. Money was made, but it was not about the money, but it was about what we was creating. And during the course of doing that, it opened up getting into forums to challenge the status quo. And one of the things actually we did, and this was my a brother called Bob now, 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿, an artist. My childhood friend. One of the things we did. I remember one of the things we did, and I'm interested about history. The same Bob now, when we were young, he was a gifted artist from the beginning. Still now, I cannot write properly. I can't write properly. My writing is horrible. But he was just gifted even as a primary school going kid. When Moja was trending, and we heard about Moja painting the walls in Banjul and other places. Most of the wall painted in Bakau, we did it with Bob now. Late in the evenings. In those days, after Timis, you go to CFRO area, you don't even see people. That's how small the country was. We go painting around places. Moja G. And interesting, I always remember this. When I did certain things in intelligence, it makes me laugh because this was true, I found out. We will sit down and some of our quarters will take credits for this. And we knew they're lying. You see, that makes us even smarter to understand, okay, this is how it works. Quarters taking credit for something they don't know about. We know about, after we know about CID coming down looking for the people that did it. But they were looking at the wrong people because they were, imagine we were inspired to do these things. Because the environment we go up with. But again, something happened again. After I left, when I went to the army, obviously we drifted apart. But when I came back to community, society for that matter, we call it, from the army, we gelled again. And we did another act that was not even thought about. Was when the PPP government was trying to privatize water in the KMC. And they started to shut down the pumps. And we just thought it was not affecting us, my household or his household. We have primary or private pump. But the activists in us, or the radicalism in us, thought about no. We make sure the women have water. That's how we say it. Dead of night, we went and cut these standpipes and pull it up. And people come and, listen, we did that. But we regretted doing it after we realized how much waste it was. We decided, no, we can channel ourselves better. I mean, different ways based on our set skills. And through this, where we used to sit down at a place in Bakau, Sise Hokukunda, opposite what used to be called Kansala, but after it was IOGT, a youth non-government organization, and the person running it was a brother of us, Mr. Jeng. And one of the conversations, Mr. Jeng was there. Mr. Jeng was the councillor for Bakau Central. And he come in, he was a politician, then he lives in Denmark now, or scholars, somewhere in Scandinavia. Mr. Jeng started to, sell his PPP thing. And I just went on to him. I went on to him. But he was my cutoff, but he was tolerant. He took all those criticism, and he put me aside and said, please, I want you to come to our youth conference in Mansa Congo. That was, I think that was in 1992 or 1993 youth conference in Mansa Congo. He said, I want you to come to our youth conference in Mansa Congo. I want this, we want to hear these ideas. I went to their, before the youth conference, they have this, how to call it, KMC youth these things. I went there. O.J. Jallo and others were there at youth. I remember O.J. Jallo was there with the late Buba Balde. I hammered them in the conference. We moved on there. We went to Mansa Congo, and the closing, before the closing remarks of Mansa Congo, I agitated. I just took up the floor. When everybody's attention was given, and yes, I went because I was prepared. I studied the act, and I just went to the youth policy, hitting them. Ousseynou Dabo was the chair of the National Youth Council. Buba Balde was the youth minister, and other people, and they were all surprised. It was not a daunting in the Gambia to agitate in that manner. I was not given the floor. I took the floor. They can't stop me. You see, that's why I said, when I was talking about Will Smith doing the wrong thing, he could have just taken the floor and just hit it, and that would have been it. From then on, the late Buba Balde, after the conference, came to my house to try to recruit me for a PPP, youth, whatever they call them. I refused. That was not why. If you want to be part of that, it's easy to be part of that. You have to represent, you have to be the cannon fodder for them. You have to represent something for them. I was too radical for that. And during that conference, youth conference, I remember I didn't wait for the youth activity. I just stayed for the conference and left. During that conference, in the evening, I remember some quarters we used to have around Hector Loom and others. And some other quarters from Banjul and other diverse this thing we used to have, radical this thing, and some from the PDIS. There's a gentleman, Mr. Coker. I saw him in London. He used to live in London after. And they've all been talking about the outcome. Everybody talking about outcome. And they all agreed on PPP continuing. And they were talking about Bibi Dabo or something else, or who is likely to be the successor. I said to them, no, that's not going to happen. They said, why? I said, the army is going to take over. Yes, it was Gambia then. You can say things. I said, the guy, why? And when, after I convinced them, and they started to put names around. Oh, this person then, this person. I said, no, I don't know who the person is, but the person is not going to be a captain. It's going to be run under a captain if it's to be successful. And I gave them my reasons for that. I remember after that, the minute that was in 90, I know I left the army in probably 93 or 92, late 92. I met Hector Loom. I'm not sure whether he's late or not. Called Hector Loom. We met in Bakau. And the minute he saw me, he said, Sumaraka Hamga Darasi Kubi. No, I didn't know that personally in the coup, but I knew it was going to happen. That's why I was agitating to leave. Because I know it was brewing. Everything was right. You see, we have opportunities on that. But again, apart from that conference, I did continue to engage. And I engaged where I thought I have my strength. I started to talk to the people within, and I knew it's going to happen. The day it's going to happen, I don't know. But I know the army is going to come out. That was the only solution. What was happening was not sustainable. I know, looking at it now, you think, no, nothing actually was happening, because how bad we have it now. But then it was really bad. I don't have time to tell you many things that makes it to be very bad. But even but to point one thing is very important for the young people, that because we don't write history, the succession planning. You see, I think in 1979, 1980, Senegal have a succession planning. Senghor passed it over to a technocrat, young technocrat. Gambia from 1972, after Sirif Diba, there was a set of an understanding. The president obviously was a Mandinka, and he ensured that his deputies are always non-Mandinkas. Andrew Kamara came, one term left. Abin Jai came, one term left. Andrew Kamara came back, and in 1981, the coup d'etat happened. Andrew Kamara finished his term in 1982. And what happened is we have a young technocrat, Bibi Dabo, as a vice president. And because people thought Andrew Kamara this time around, because of what had happened in 1981, how he assumed control and everything else, he was going to be the successor. But no, when the young person came in, people said, oh yeah, probably Jawara is looking at a successor. He's a young person, he's a technocrat. He can be a unifier. He's not part of the political scramble within the PPP. Not that we know it, 2 terms. Successful 2 terms as a vice president, scandal-free and everything. What do we have? With all the scandals going on, corruption and everything, Shehu Sabali and all the things. The complacency with the PPP. We had the Mansa Concord conference, and we saw a strategy that Jawara played and torpedoed everything. Look at what, from then on, the infighting within the PPP and the destabilization of governance and the giving opportunity to the army with everything else. That's history. But I was engaging to have a, because I know what could happen. I know about how divided, how politicized certain things were in the army then, between 2 factions. And I told these people that if any of these factions lead a coup, it will fail. If a Mandinka lead a coup, it will fail. If a Wolof lead a coup, it will fail. I said, because there's a lot at stake. I said, and none of these, if they play it wisely, they can easily stabilize. If not, they will not stabilize. But I said a lot, and other things. I was watching up to the day it happened, and it started to evolve. There were a lot of threats that some people did not recognize, knowing that if the junta have collapsed, You see? That's why most people don't understand the 11 November thing. There's a lot in the 11 November thing that never came out from the TRRC. One day in mind. But just to tell you that the power grab, that's what we have to understand in democracy. The power grab is so, the executive power grab, there are a lot of influences. There are people that have interest geopolitically, be it your neighboring countries, be it the international community. There's no country too small to raise an interest, not to raise interest for other parties. Our Gambia geopolitical position, our location, is what actually defined our independence. The British, they did their commission, and most of the commission agreed. The commission chairman said no. The geopolitical position of the Gambia is strategic to British interests. This is why the British kind of cool off and find a way of allowing Gambia to be independent. That's another thing we should always keep in mind. And one of these threats, I'll tell you, again, was my knowledge from Liberia. You see, God have ways of doing things. I always say this, your intentions need to be clean. And you'll be surprised how things happen. It's just been miracles. At times I sit back and think about these things. Did it actually happen? Or did it actually happen the way it happened? That's why I start to write things. I'm writing a lot of things that had happened, or what things I believe it happened the way it happened, because it helps. If not, I'll tell you, as time goes on, you start to doubt or even start to, misrepresent things. We are human, our minds. That's when you write things at that material time, it helps to reference that. Again, my time in Liberia, and interesting, when I was on holiday, and I was told, I was coming from Senegal. I was on holiday coming from Senegal in Bara, in the ferry. A guy told me, oh, because I knew I was not going to Liberia. I knew I was not going to Liberia at that time. And the guy said, your name is published. There's a special unit going to Liberia. You are, in that unit. Part of the company going to Liberia. A special unit. I said, I didn't know, I'm on holiday. I had to resume holidays. And I was brief what that special unit was. And it have it, God ways, my first asset, very important asset, cultivated in Gambia before I left the Gambia to Liberia. An incident happened at the police station. And a family member of mine was at the police station. And one of the parties involved in this thing was Sonem Suare, but from Liberia. And he had my family members Sonem there, and they linked up. And my family member said to him that, oh, my brother is in fact traveling to Liberia tomorrow as part of ECOMEC. And that guy was, said, I wish I could have met him. The minute my family member told me this, at late in the evening, and he told me, gave me experience, he said that's where he lived. And I said, I'm going to, the guy was called Michael Swale. He was living in Canifin by the, what do you call it? Westfield, by Westfield. And I took a taxi, I took the taxis from Bakau to Serakunda, and I started walking down to try to locate this compound. As I was walking down to locate this compound, in front of me, two couples were speaking. And I picked the accent. And I said, you guys, you Liberian. And the minute I said, you Liberian, they looked at me. They kind of shocked. Oh, what do you want? And I said, no, I'm trying to locate this person called. And he said, I'm Michael. I said, I'm this. I got to know Michael. And what happened is, when, Michael wanted me to meet his family and other things, to find out things on me, if I happened to be in Liberia. Michael didn't know why I was going to Liberia, what my role in Liberia was, but it happened. And when I went, actually, his brother was very strategic in what was happening, and God, it went on like that. But again, through this, one of my missions was to understand the Gambian mercenary presence in Liberia, the threat to our national security. That was one of my main preoccupations, apart from other things to help the stabilization of, these things in there, because there were a lot of feedbacks that came from the force contingent. Certain things happened that the British Army training team needed intelligence, and so that our state, because they shall have, the cracks were appearing everywhere due to corruption. These two things mandate I have. And having these two mandates, I'm just become very interesting. And I was lucky to able to have an asset at the interim government, at the level of interim government, through the then interim inspector general of police, assets from Gambian migrants within, and so on and so on and so on. And I have a penetration. I was able to get what I needed. And I wrote this report. And someone else that knew about this report was close to Jammeh. And I said, how lucky. You see, your intention is going to be right. I never gravitate towards anybody. It was a coup d'etat, it was popular. Jammeh was someone I know personal, someone I had a lot of dealings before he became a president, head of state, before he overthrew, just before he overthrew, we had a lot going on. But I have never met him. I never tried to meet him, even though he tried many times. And through that, something happened. Something of national interest. He needed a briefing on this national threat of Gambian mercenaries, national threat to our national security. When I was doing it, I was not doing it for him. I know he thinks it's him, he's in government. No, I know the destabilization of Gambia, what it's going to cost us. I was never paid on anything. Apart from $15,000 is cash for my air ticket. I didn't even take up, what do you call it? Expense allowance or anything. All was an air ticket to ADC Airlines to Liberia for 2 weeks. Everything else I did my arrangements to go and update and make recommendations. And my report, my recommendation came through when Farafenni was attacked. I was not in the country when it happened. But with that report and what was going on, Jammeh tried everything to have me detected. To the extent of then his one of his most trusted lieutenant, Baba Job, sat with me. Baba did not even have a computer then on the table, not a pen and paper. It was just an empty, just an office, a president's office with a desk and everything. Started to try to engage me on these things. I said to him, categorically clear, I'm not interested. I left the army not to serve a regime. I'm not coming to serve another regime. What I did before, what I have helped with was for national security. To entrench this government, that's not my responsibility. That's your responsibility. And I said, if you live by the promises to the people, I said, that's what your security is. But if you fail to, if you try to entrench yourself, and I advise all the people that I know, that if you guys fall for anything here, and allow this government to entrench and not to, return to barracks, I said, you all will pay for it. And you people close to Jammeh today will pay for it before anybody else. 11 November came. Some of those people, this was at the beginning. Some of it happened in 11 November. But what happened? Gambians said that no, it's the soldiers, then boogie. They said that it's the soldiers, they boogie. But 11 November knew what have started to transpire. They see what have started to transpire. That they wanted to nip this in the bud. They realized it was a mistake. But Gambians did not give them that allowance to understand that these people started to rectify, because these are the backbone of the army. These were the backbone that ensured that coup d'etat happened. The success, sorry. What made the coup d'etat happen is the PPP. What makes it successful is the backbone of the Gambia Armed Forces and the Gambians accepting a popular outcome. That's why we should be very careful. We should be very careful. We could have gravitated. We know the offers given. That's why today, if I see people running around presidents or ministers, thinking that it's a privilege other people don't have, that's why we criticize them. No. But it went on. I know my friend 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 is silent again. And I know at times if his good genes comes on, he talk about the good things that we have together. But I know he have never talked about the real things that happened when he was a spokesperson, my relationship with him. He never talked about that. But I tell you, he was one of the few I trusted, that I dealt with, in fact, in order to insulate myself from the junta itself. Personally, because we had a bond. We had a bond from sharing the same dormitory during recruitment, from sharing the same passion in reading, and sharing the other things we shared, and we built a lot. He was like a brother that I can trust from everything else. Someone who will insulate me, someone who I can influence, who thoughts I can influence to help to influence the outcome of there. But the rest is history, as we all know what happened. But that's why when I left 2 weeks, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 left. The minute they killed 𝐾𝐟𝐼𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, I know that's it. I cannot be safe in this country. I did not leave because of anything else. I knew. I did not leave because I was a coward. No. But what's the point of dying without impacting anything? I know my life, preserving my life would be better. Probably one day, that life can come back and continue the journey, and that journey I continue. I left 22nd September 1995. 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 left around the 5th. I was at the airport when they told me, "Saboy be down." I said, I knew I did the right thing. People that knew between us know that I would have been picked up. I would be the one person, one of the people, or probably nobody else was picked up. I'll tell you, I would be picked up because the amount of time I visited his house, amount of time the guards saw me, the relationship I with him, Singate knew. Singate knew. Singate would have come for me. We all know, because we all know. Singate knew and will believe that think that I know much from 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 when I didn't actually know. I didn't actually know some of the things. I later knew. I just had my suspicion, and I had to abandon. Because if I could not trust, the one person I trusted could not be trusted anymore. And knowing my background and what they know, and refusing to be coped in, I know then my life is at risk. You see, and in the struggle, this went into the struggle. Throughout the struggle and everything, my integrity I kept intact. You see, the opportunities, I know some people around Barrow now will tell you. The time I came out, 1995, I already had a strategy. I mastermind a strategy. And I have a convincing, I have my witness, I have a convincing plot that could have taken out Jammeh any minute. Because it was tried and tested. People make offers. Sidi Cisse, who used to be Freedom newspaper, will be my witness. He have seen the strategy layout. People had made offers. And some people make offers in private. After I was introduced to them, they make offers in private for a regime change. And you'll be surprised. And what I picked up from some of these people, and some of them are very close to Barrow, businessmen. who one of these things was to get rid of their even business rivals from completely out of the markets. That's what they wanted. They want a 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿 transitional government in order for them to decide the outcome of a political next leadership, so-called democratization. You see, the power, you have to understand the power. I refuse. Lucrative office. I have never been offered a coffee. I've sat in many meetings, not even a coffee that I've not paid for. I've never been paid for. Nobody ever paid my transports. Never ever paid my hotel. Nobody ever gave me allowance. Nothing, absolutely. That's why I have my voice today. I maintain that voice. Nobody ever take care of my anything. I work for everything. And I invested my hard-earned cash in my operations, what I do. Yes, some people did chip in into certain things. But because it was so effective, it was not money-driven. Because it was driven by people who were committed to do things. It was never money-driven. We know people who have spent millions in the struggle and end up not seeing nothing. And the little spent, because it was based on a strategy. I could have gone the regime change route. I refuse. The democratization route I took. And political parties knew my engagement from behind the scenes to many other things that have been done. To the burning down of the APRC bureau, what strategic it was, and all the things that happened that people were absent. I know people would come out to take credit now. But I'll tell you, those 6 soldiers, if they have not been gallant enough to do what they do today, we are not going to be talking about this. Yahya Jammeh would have succeeded in his Islamic state and do whatever he wants. Whatever we claim to have done, nothing would have taken out the Yahya Jammeh if those soldiers were not gallant enough to take out the voter card, dodgy voter cards in the APRC bureau. And I tell you, if we did not sanitize this IEC and the voter cards register again, I'll tell you, we will, if the change comes, it's not going to be democratic. Take this from me. Because we know that we had A and B. Plan A was better, was the democratization, but we know that we have an instrument to bring about the change. We know that Jammeh was not going to go in elections. Not only that we are not going to win, but we know that after the win, even we this thing, there was a strategy for everything, and people that had followed would know. We did that sacrifice. I never gravitate towards any individual, for that matter. Individual. I'm not talking about someone in influence. Individual. I never gravitate. If I gravitate to anything, is someone who can impact on a greater good. And I can give you examples. I mean, look, the trade we have as intelligence, these things, we make things possible. And I'll tell you, we make things possible and you think it's a miracle. But it's just understanding the human mindset. We can make people gravitate towards us. We can make people to gravitate towards a common something that we will come and have influence with them. We do that. We don't need to praise anyone or to buy into anything. But another thing, I'll tell you, people that followed, during the impasse, I started to warn Gambians of the outcome. Go and look at go on Facebook and Google all my videos during the impasse going on. I've been consistent, holding this government accountable. I am an anti-establishment. People say, but what good? But you don't talk about the good of the government. You see, if you understand politicians as an anti-establishment, you don't do their PR. Anything they do you think is good, look at their interests. It's mainly their interests. They put a road. Why would I go and congratulate a government for putting down a road? What did I put the government there for? But you'll be surprised that if I go deep into that road to tell you how contracts are given and everything else and what they're trying to do personally, why would I congratulate for them? I leave that for them to do. I've already paid my taxes for them to have their information minister, their press secretary, and everything else. Let them do that for him. I am doing what an anti-establishment with the people that doesn't have a voice. The people that they try to drown their voice by using the incumbency, the government machinery that they paid for. Why should I waste my valuable time to impact and go into, yeah, but government did. No good. Give me one project and I'll get to the project and tell you, what it stands for. This is the reason in Senegal, Pastef is resonating. When they brought the trains, Pastef talked about the trains and decode what it represents. Whose interest it did it really represent? What could have been done better? When they brought those roads, the private roads, and they explain how much taxpayers have put in that roads, and now a private sector is enjoying more from the roads. That's what you do. They say, you must build a road to Tuba, allow Tuba, allow Tuba. How much is it costing them? And the government could have achieved those roads without those private sector milking them. These are things that we need. But to explain this, the minute we went to the impasse, people started to gravitate towards politicians or people that perceive to have power. And I said to them, look, the power rests with us. If we jealously guard this power, we can determine the future, the outcome. You see, they have to understand the power dynamics. I say, none of these people hold the power. I say, and the structures we have, the system we have, if we move our positions here, thinking that we gravitate towards anybody, I said the power is going to be rest to the president, the executive, because we have an executive person. You see, that's why you have to understand. You see, the reason I went into starting with explaining the evolution of power, politics in United Kingdom from the monarchy, medieval times, to the monarchy, to coming out to the landowners and everything, conservative labor and so on, is this, to understand the power dynamics. I said it will, because we have an executive. Parliament will not mean anything. Institutions will mean anything. I said what we have to do is to hold the power and share the power sharing, up to the extent that we have all the reforms. Change the Gambian mindsets to believe in themselves. Change the Gambian mindset to believe in accountability, transparency. Change the Gambian mindset to be proactive in holding people in position accountable, regardless of what. I said then. I said do so. And I'll tell you, the person I have personal agreement for was my own brother, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 They have not even been in government, I can tell you. Oja won't tell you that since he became minister, I have gravitated towards him. And whoever knows during the struggle, I mean, I can tell we used to talk daily. Not when he was a minister, no, not when he's after becoming a minister. They all have shown their positions. But doesn't mean that I abandon him as a brother. Doesn't mean that I'll abandon to engage him, but I'll engage him on a platform or as something that I believe in, but not because of what he have uttered. No. That's why I said again from this beginning, we have to understand what politicians say and what politicians do. We should not be divided. We have our common interest, and that common interest is coming together to hold accountability, transparency to happen, so that accountability can be ensured, and then prosperity can be guaranteed. But not because of we are related, not because of we belong to a political party. We'll go ahead. We did that through the impulse, the regime changing, the consolidation of power. When the consolidation of power started, because of Halifa Saleh refused to take on position, and technically he becomes the anti-establishment with the situation. I mean, technically, I will clarify that. We perceived that he was going to be the anti-establishment because he refused some advances. I thought, and most people thought, we hold the same positions. This was my understanding. And the rest, you see, Farmata Tamajang is my auntie. I was more critical on him, on her than anybody else. We went on being critical. And I went on. You see, that's why I said one thing, and people would, I respect everybody, but I respect people more who I was in the struggle with. But does that mean that too, when they decided to move on to something else, I'll follow them into that? No. I still respect their views. I'll engage them. I'm tolerant to anybody. I'll be tolerant to them. But people that who have been fighting me all the time, or my position, against my position all the time, are people I will never trust. It's common sense. But what we saw is people trusted the people that entrenched the dictatorship. People that wanted to kill us, people that threatened us, people that killed us for that matter, because they kill our people, they subjugate us to everything. No, now they say, we are all Gambians. That's a lie. There are different Gambians. And it's not in tribe. It's the Gambian in us. That good-natured Gambian in us. That was the Gambian we have. Any other cell, that's the difference of Gambians, not the tribe or when you become a Gambian. That's not what the definition should be. It's the person we are. When this thing happened, within the UDP, I got attacks. People that don't know me, I never got attacked from people that know me in the UDP, because they have respect for me. And I know they disagree with my position. And some of them go to the extent, no, I am actually a PWI sympathizer. Because of PWI was out of government. People that doesn't know me, you see, that's why I keep on telling people, don't take offense from certain quarters. Or don't use that offense, because that quarter have offense you and just label the entire system for what it is. No, I understand these dynamics. I understand the ignorance of certain people. It's due to ignorance. I understand it's because of selfishness for others. They know, but they choose. Start telling them, be careful. I started with the Masane Kinte incident. The minute it started, I said, no, no, no. No. Now people have to see differences. Oh, no. I said, no, you think Masane going to be your friend? You think Masane was going to do anything different from what he did for Jammeh? I said, look, we should know each other by now. But no, people saw interest in Masane's appointment. And I was attacked for that. I stood, because, you see, I knew my intentions. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but if my intentions are right, I back them. If I believe that my conscience is clear, I back that. If it is wrong even, I can stand up to say, yes, I got that wrong. But I will be peace with myself. That's what's important. Not how people perceive me. It's, yes, I do take that into consideration, but does not make me to go and join them or to do something wrong. I hold on to that. And I was vindicated. I went on to explain everything that was at play. Explain what Hamadba was playing. Hamadba became the darling of the UDP. I said, then be careful. You should learn lessons by now. We should, during the struggle, you should have seen what the game Hamadba played. No, they did not get it. Hamadba, no. Now we start seeing some APRC people with the UDP. Agendas. Now it's tolerance. That's not tolerance. It's not to give power to people that doesn't deserve it. Not to share power with people that doesn't deserve it. Let us have the due process to go on. Let's have the rule of law re-established. Let's eliminate, this selfishness. It went on. It started to ruffle. We started to see the my-fathers and all the things happening. My father removed from office. These things happening. Anything happen, the government does will be justified. Adam Abad does will be justified. Now some people say job seekers, or we're trying to lobby for certain people, they don't have the jobs, that's why we are. I still, as I said, I have respect for people that have respect for me. We engage behind the scenes. I've never come out to this. I said to look, you'll be surprised. And I said, you'll be surprised about these people. And we also have seen. This is what happened. This is our political history. We should see it's coming. They accepted Mambure Njai to be in cabinet with them. See, you want me to support that? But people will be surprised. My relationship with Mambure Njai, it's like a brother. You'll be surprised. I know people were surprised. How comes then you? Yes, it's not personal. It's what he does. I am against. I don't care. That's what it's against. That's what I stand. It went on. Then the consolidation process went on. Farmer Tamajangs went and came and revolved the door. Barrow is positioning himself. You see, to the extent of, I know, I'll keep on saying this, and one day, when it come out, Gambians, I don't know why we don't see it. I can remember when those vehicles, people saying anonymous donor, I said it's a lie. They are not anonymous donors. Those vehicles were ordered by Yaya Jammeh. You see, attention to detail. It's not that someone told me, attention to detail. I produced all the evidence. It was part of the Yaya Jammeh project. Yaya Jammeh said that, during the campaign, 2016 campaign, that he's going to bring vehicles for every MP. It was part of bribe the MPs so that they can vote for his monarchy. His Islamization project. He said that. Again, another proof that Yaya Jammeh provided those vehicles. Who presented those vehicles? Yankuba Dabo of GRA. When the presentation was done, and everything in the presentation can be seen, the role Amadou was playing. But even that time, UDP cannot see Amadou for what he was doing. The role Amadou was playing, and Yankuba Dabo there, and every presentation, and the first vehicles that even came, about 4, that was given to GRTS, everything else came from Yankuba Dabo to the then information minister Jao. There's no anonymous donor. Barrow is lying. The government is lying. It went on, and during that ceremony, Ahmad said it. Now we are going to Parliament to change the constitution. I can't remember the section now. 90 or 70 or 70.1 or whatever. To make sure that MPs will be empowered. I said to you guys, be careful. This is not about empowering MPs. It's making so that they can capture the state. They are bribing MPs. So next minute, Barrow doesn't have MPs in Parliament. This is bribing them. No. That case was defended. That case was defended. They went and voted for overwhelming. Our MPs are now these things. You think Yaya Jammeh was stupid when he did that? If you follow Gambia political history, I'll give you another. That's where Yaya Jammeh landed from. When the Jawara wanted to consolidate, because a bit of power base was kind of threatened, when Andrew Musa Kamara, the late, became an opposition leader. Now he wanted to undermine the base of Andrew Kamara, Hassan Musa Kamara in Basse. Buba Balde went and stood for independent, won the seat. Now, Jawara wanted to bring Omar Sy into government, and the only way to bring Omar Sy into government to make him parliamentarian. Deliberately, Buba Balde made a deal with the government of Jawara. Deliberately went to Sierra Leone and stayed in Sierra Leone, and all he had to do was write a letter to the Speaker of the House to say that I am taking a vacation for this reason, for that reason, absence. If he had done that, he would have maintained his position. But he deliberately did that to avoid the seats. I think 2 sittings, or how many sittings? Then you lose your seat, then or go for by-election. As Buba Balde went and campaigned for the PPP. Because of the arrangement was 1982 elections, the following elections, then he would be given a seat to contest. And this Buba Balde was brought up by Andrews Camara. Not because I'll tell you, apart from the families brought up around the Njai family of Musa in Banjul, the rest of the Basse people brought up in Banjul were from Andrews Camara's background. He was betrayed. That's how they undermined him. Then when the election, these things, obviously, he became an MP and became a minister. It did not last. That's where Yaya Jammeh understand the cross-carpet. Understand the cross-carpet thing. Now he did that, but they didn't see that. Entrenchment. And the fallout happened. When the fallout happened, some people who were terming me PDOIS supporter, some people who were calling me job seeker and everything, decided to, unblock me or send me friend request again. But I tell you, I said that's a good, that's why you can tell the people that came out and said sorry. Sorry for doubting you. Sorry for this, sorry for this. Some people even sorry for attacking you. The time we are saying it, we don't say it. I give examples. But there was another factor there. Another factor was called the Bartambedu factor. That Bartambedu played a street game of entrenchment. You see, the entrenchment was not only happening by political party interests. Bartambedu represented the interest. Now today you see the biggest drug dealer lawyer was Bartambedu. I told you that the drugs were from State House. We'll talk about that another time. Yeah, I told you Sirif Tambedu was the lawyer. Sirif Tambedu know where the client is. The drugs was from these things, a cabal. You see, when they divide us through tribe. When they divide us through religion. When they divide us, at times they divide us through regions. Can we remember when we have the Mandinkas from Kombo, Mandinkas from Badu, Mandinka of Kiang, Mandinka of this? You see, even within tribes, they would divide us. And during the PPP time, we used to have the pole footers and we have the Basse poles. Each of these groups, I'll tell you, ask them, they tell you why they're better than the other pole. Other people, we are Gambians, we are more Gambians, we are this, we are this. Other pole will tell you something else. That's why I said, this is not new. The colonials understand this and they play that on us. And this is what politics have been. But for the interest of the people, that's why we should know how to play this. How to play this. It's only when we come together for the greater good. In most cases, our political parties would be so much overcome by trying to capture power, and they would disregard the principles of accountability. And without that, we ought to fail. If we even capture power, that power will be failure. Because what will end up is, if we maintain a monopoly on democracy, what will happen if democracy fails? If democracy fails, what will happen? Chaos happens. When chaos happens, the only constituted institution is the army. Security sector will take over power. If you want to understand that, look at the arrangements where in this developing countries, democratic pride, or so-called democracy, you have the army part of the process. Look at Nigeria. We know they don't have democracy. The army is part of the process. You look at Pakistan today. Imran Khan might be kicked out because of he is falling out with the army. Now the politicians knew that. Now they are taking part on the side of the opposition. You see, it's not for change for the greater good, no. It's just to capture power. Then when we were in the process, we should have understand that. We went through that process, the Bartambedu factor. I know. Bartambedu came out with the biggest PR. From the beginning, controversy. But he monopolized so-called Gambian intelligentsia or so-called intellectuals, because I don't call them intellectuals. They are not. If they can be tricked by Bartambedu. But most of them too have interests. They could not tell the truth. They could not hold Bartambedu accountable. And if you fail to hold Bartambedu accountable, and you think that the politicians are our problem, you are a problem. Because when justice fails, there is no peace. And because we were to restore a country, rebuild a country, The foundation should be on justice, transitional justice. But what did Bartholomew operate on was part of what entrenched Barrow. You see, we blame the UDP. They play a role. We blame ourselves as again for not standing up to the UDP well. I'll come to that. But let's go on to Bartholomew roles as the judiciary. He has a dual role here. Like Sierra Leone have just removed that. You cannot be the justice minister representing government, advising government, government lawyer, and be the same person responsible for prosecuting government. It doesn't work. But you see, the separation of that power would not happen because of the status quo wants it that way. Jawara knew that, he did not change it. Yahya Jammeh knew that, he did not change it. Barrow knew that now, and they maintain it. That's why you never have prosecutions of any case. Yeah, and everything has been monopolized. From the drafting of the Janneh Commission, the scope was for one thing alone: to take the properties of this thing and monopolize it and keep it for themselves. And that was the results. If you want to understand something, you have to understand the background. And the architect of that background was Bartholomew. From the TRRC, everything else was already screwed. We told you, and look at the outcome. Anything else. Commissions. You see, commissions are a way that government would have their way. Justice is, look, why do you have to do investigations to set up a commission? Why not do investigations and go to court? To say that the commissions would give you the truth is a lie. How can commissions give you the truth? There's no cross-examination in commissions. United Kingdom, go and find out the history of United Kingdom if any commission's report have been anything apart from a whitewash. Go and look at the America if any commission report have been anything apart from a whitewash. Go and look at the Gambia if any commission report from Jawara to now have been anything apart from a whitewash. They know that. It's a favored way of doing things for government. But we were not interested. And until we respect the victims, until we have the empathy for victims, until we respect justice and accountability, we are not going to rebuild a nation. We are maintaining a status quo which is not sustainable. Power grab will happen, democracy will not thrive, a resemblance democracy will happen, and the people in power will be complacent to the extent that they think that they capture the state, and what happened is people will revolt. And when they revolt, the most powerful institution with the army would take over. Yes. Go and look at it anywhere it happened. Anyway. But the risk though is, the lesser evil in fact is the army taking over. There's worse than that, a civil unrest. When we have a civil war. Because of the tribal game this government have played. Tribal game, the divisions within us. And the neglect of minorities, not inclusive, the religious minorities, the tribes. I told you here how the government is run. You have the representation of Fulas, representation of Mandinkas, representation of Wolofs, and representation of Sarahule. But they don't represent these tribes. They represent their families, but they come out to look at as if it's an inclusive government, that they represent every tribe. It's a lie. They represent their tribes. They represent their families. They're wealthy. Look at they all have transformed themselves. Look at that. They are all fat for what they used to be. Look at their compound. Look at their property assets. Go and do an evaluation. None of them. They all become wealthy in this government. But look at their tribes. If they go to the market and tell me where a Sarahule, a Jola, or Spul, or Mandinka is sold at a different price, or a hospital, or anywhere else. We are the most intermarried society. It's impossible then to discriminate on that basis. But they would do this, send all the information around to divide us. To divide us. And I said, they divide us even within. They would divide us even within. You know, remember, I said this before, to give you the proof of this, evidence of this. If it was in the First Republic, the Akos were in charge. Virtue, they are minority, but virtue they come in competency. You see, I shared a video to someone. You understand why Genghis Khan was successful. It's the inclusiveness of what he does. He's Genghis Khan's you know, Buddhists are not inclusive. I know as spirituality people think it, but in the nature it's not. But Genghis, you had the Christians have Muslims have Buddhists. Genghis give appointments based on merit. You see, that's why he was able to conquer and maintain. But when the Akos were in charge, as a minority, we all know education was based on English curriculum. They were already there. We had two. We had the Mandinkas, we had the Wolof. Then they are the other half educated class or capacity. The rivalry. And we have Fullers, but those Fullers were mainly from Bashe area. The Pole Footers were not interested in politics of governance. They go to other sectors, in the independent institutions and others. But this competition of resources started to bring out identity of people. Oh, these people are, because we are people of tribes. That's why if we not someone was telling me about this 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 to reflect his people, not to be seen as a Fula or Tukulor leader. You see, but we cannot run away from who we are anyway. Well, all we have to do is have metrics, we have systems, mechanisms that dictate how we do things. But we had it. And after, it becomes a rivalry between Wolof and Mandinkas. And obviously, the rest of the tribes would have to be allies. And mainly the Basse Fulas were allies of what we term as the Banjul Mafia or the Wolofs. And people will understand even those Wolofs are like Banjul-centric. People like Fafambai were seen outside the outsiders. There were different kind of, you see, it was all about resources. It's not about tribe. Then you have the so-called, you have what we call the Terikafo. Again, it was all based on identity but resources. But often what you see is, what you don't understand about the system is because if you look at a tribe, you are mistaken. Because you forget that these Wolofs are intermarried to others. Now you see them, look, it's about nepotism. They give their cousins, they give their nephews, their nieces positions. And they don't belong to the same tribe. The same thing happened to the Terikafo. They give this, and it becomes the people divided to see tribe. But what they see among themselves is nepotism. How do I advance my family? Knowing that if my Wolof nephew is there, I am comfortable. My Fula nephew is there, I'm comfortable. My Mandinka nephew is there, I'm comfortable. It becomes that. It was reduced to nepotism. But the general public was seeing a tribalism because that was the message being sent out, just as they do now. But interesting enough, what happened in that history was a deciding moment. When the succession planning failed, people, Bibi Dabo was thought to be, but later it failed. Jawara wanted something else or was confused in doing things now. People thought Shehu Sabali was reinvented to be a vice president, now a rivalry. Now we have Bibi Dabo, we have Shehu Sabali, they are all Mandinkas. But you see some Terikafos even went and allied with Shehu Sabali. And they went at this time comfortably allied with some of the Banjul Mafia. Why? Because of now, they believe that their influence is based on Shehu Sabali. Shehu Sabali was less rigid, he was corrupt, let's say that. But let's say less rigid, he was kind of seen accommodating. They were together. Some people who were Terikafo were supporting Sehu Sabali, and they were comfortable with the so-called Banjul Mafia. It's the same thing happened when Barrow came. All the people from Yaya Jammeh, we are comfortable. Tangaras, Mamburinjais, Alaji, they don't have a problem with it. Politicians didn't have a problem with it. Because now we are all in the same camp. We all going to be, it's about what their proceeds, the proceeds of loot of, the spoils of war. But Bibida was seen as rigid. Probably less corrupt. I'm not saying he was not corrupt. Less corrupt, seen rigid. And he was labeled as then the Terika for candidate. Do you know why he was labeled that? Not because he was a Mandinka, because this guy was a Mandinka, no. Because he was not likely successor. You see, they gravitate to the power. They gravitate to people they see to be likely successor, because Sehu Sabali was the likely successor now. Because if Bibi Dawa has spent 2 terms and been reduced, I know he took an important position, but in this case it was reduced to a position of finance, and the vice president in our constitution is inherited. If something happened, but what happened? He is not a successor here. The successor is Sehu Sabali now. Sehu Sabali will be sanitized. Sehu Sabali would not be seen as a Mandinka. Sehu Sabali will be seen as our candidate. And given, I sanitized with everything. Nothing would wrong about him. And that guy should have been accountable for everything else. He went to the extent of marrying the niece of the president. And that's a confirmation of, he's going to grab the power. He was given the portfolio minister of defense, which have never happened. Oh, that's another confirmation. And we wonder why we had a coup d'etat. Democracy fails. Everybody have now seen it's about gravitation to the most corrupt. Was it about tribalism? No. But what did we believe? It was tribe. Is Sehu Sabali not a Mandinka? Is Sehu Sabali less a Mandinka than Bibi Dabo? No. That's why I said it's not that. We should not buy into this tribal nonsense. They are using it as an instrument. Now we have 4 tribes that are in the play. But they are not representing their tribes. They are representing their family. Go and see their budgets and look at those families or tribes, how they are. Now, you don't have any representative of Jola in the mix. Yaya Jammeh created, maintained. They have Mandinkas. He had Fullers, and he had Wolofs, and he had Jolas. Now, Jolas are dropped for the position of a Sarahule. You see, this is the game they're playing us. It's not to the interest of Gambia. This is destabilizing Gambia. That's why I said the worst option is end up in a civil war. And don't rule out a military takeover, because democracy has failed in Gambia. There's no integrity in our politics. Be it accountability. We are so divided. Be it in our electoral system. It's corrupt to the registration. I said it before. And I'm still holding on to it. Now, this thing happened. But again, we have a problem of holding onto positions. With everything I said, when the reason people thought I was PDIS, when Honorable Halifa Saleh came out, we thought now he's going to stand on an anti-establishment position, as I decided. That's my position. That's my home. We championed that position. It's not that we were following. No, we were together. What he was saying was resonating to what we are, but the actions were not there. The actions were absent. I was a believer of the 3 years. And if you believe in the 3 years, you stand up to it. But no, it's live for Gambians. If you are a leader, you refuse to lead, the people would be captured. That's why the people got captured by Barrow, and we accept that UDP enabled that capturing. But again, we cannot blame UDP alone. We blame PDOIS and Halifa Saleh for not standing up for something. Look, say that is destabilizing, is demonstrations. That's not true. I disagree. You see, that's what the strategy you try to use on Sonko and Senegal. Oh, he's a troublemaker. Oh, he's this thing. Because of this, they want to calm you down so that they will get away with things. Because the only way you stop them is by being proactive and ready to stand with them. That's the position I wanted. That's the position I supported. When the 3 years judgment movement started, I refused. Because I didn't see the leadership in it and I could not see the clear agenda. It was not drawn out right. I came out here and I said it. I gave out reasons and I gave out strategy that can be made so that it's about, no suspicions will be in it. It's about that we are going it for the greater good. Nobody would use me to capture a state for themselves. What we did in the struggle was to liberate for what we are and to rebuild. And they came for state capture. But the failure there was to hold a position. And that continued with PDOIS throughout. And my position I held, that UDP came and found me on that position. Now I am a UDP sympathizer. You see, that's why I said my consistency. When I was a PDOIS, now I'm a UDP. Because no, I am consistent on accountability. I'm consistent on being an anti-establishment. I don't sing the praises of government and I don't go against attacking the opposition. I try to unify the opposition because of it's a system where we have an incumbent. We need to fight together. And you see, PASTEF would not have been successful in this election if PASTEF were running alone. They mobilize. They try to get the unions around them. They tried civil society around them. That's how you do it. That's what anti-establishment position is. It's not about to guarantee. You cannot guarantee your leadership. Your leadership, you have to put it out there, and the outcome, you might be the candidate. Ousmane Sonko might not be even the candidate if he is principal. What he can be is part of the leadership. And if they come onto any mechanism that decide a leader for the anti-establishment, then they have an opportunity to take over. But if they want to run as passive and the other parties run as, the incumbent will win. Now, why is Ousmane Sonko been protected? Because of, be it the mayor of Dakar, Majas, be it others, have Halifa Saleh, who would have all been, Halifa Saleh been victim and others, but all these other people have been all collective victims. But now they're standing together, they are resisting. Life has been lost and everything, and this is what comes in fighting for democracy. And I will say this. I know we are scared of, and it's not right, but these are facts we have to accept. The outcomes, we have to understand the route we take and the outcomes. You see, I know we are scared of violence, but violence can be brought onto us. If the only way to deal with that is to stand up to it. If we think we can run onto it, no, we will always be subjugated to slavery. But doesn't mean that the violence stops. The violence will be on us. But if we fight, we'll liberate ourselves. I'll give you an example. Look, Japan went through a war. Where is Japan today? Germany went through a war. Where is Germany today? The war might not have been right, but people fought against it. America went through a civil war. But if you think if America did not stand and fight for their independence, they would have been independent? You think the British would still not be influencing? You think the British, if they would be any country or major, and the empire would not still be intact if people were not ready to take it out? Violence was in the empire. That's how the empire was maintained. But people came out and fought against that. People died in these wars and everything else. But people are dying right now through hospitals, through road accidents, through malnutrition, through diseases, through corruption. People are dying. I am not calling for people to do that, but I'm saying to take the democratic space. If they know that we are organized, they know that we are standing up, they would not. They are not strong. We have to galvanize the people and give the people power. We should not let the power to be captured by the corrupt politicians. That was my message. And if anybody come around that beliefs, or whatever resemblance, or whatever it is, I am cool. That doesn't mean that I am part of them. I am with them in what we do. Why I would be afraid to show my association? Unless you don't know me. I have not fight many physical fights. No, because I have a character. My character does that for me. I don't get disrespected because of my character. It's not your violence that gives that insulate you from disrespect. It's your character. Because I have not been going around trying to gain something I am not entitled to, that I have not worked for, I did not earn. I did not go out there for being selfish. I've not been out there to disrespect people. I don't need physical fight. What are you scared of? You think I'll be scared of someone insulting me? When people are dying for their country, I have an ego that, oh, I don't want to be insulted. You think if I don't want to be insulted, I'll be here? No. Why should I be scared of insults? That's unto them. My character would portray, be deciding moment. The deciding factor here. But we did not fight. PWIS did not fight. In fact, the position PWIS took, part of the problem. Consolidation was easy. You see, you don't have to. PWIS should have occupied that vacuum when all the other parties went to be the establishment, now be the anti-establishment. Rally the people, mobilize the people, get the unions, get the students, get every other sector. So get that leadership. Even if you refuse to position yourself for the 3 years mandate, then prepare the people. But not to say that you are preaching to people and you at the back and people will lead. That's insane. I don't see that. But people will not get that. Today, I've seen anger, and I love that anger. I have used some mild words against Barrow before. I don't think at times I spoke. What I think I put in me is to avoid using the word President Barrow. That's what this is, and I try to even use fabricated. I use other even mild words, but I have seen today people who have censored me for being attacked or being dissing or thinking I'm disrespectful, using very harsh words. That's what we expect. If the person did not respect him, so you cannot respect him. He did not respect us. Why do we call him a president? Why do we treat them anything different? The position today should have been seen. It's incoming. It's not new. I remember when Halifa Sallah was in London, and we had that, and he made that statement of regime change. And at that time, they went on radio and the news and released a press release and attacked Halifa Sallah. We came out. I was one of the people that came out and defended Halifa, and I point the blame at Barrow. Oh no, it's Alhaji Conte. Oh no, it's this. I said it's a lie. That's Barrow temperament. No, Barrow is humble. I said it's a lie. The guy is not humble. The guy is a crook. He's not humble. He's a liar. No, they said we were job seekers. We were angry, or we are PWIS sympathizers. Yeah, again, when he went against Dr. Cisse, I said, look at it. This is the person. No, we refuse to accept who Barrow is. We have refused to accept what Barrow represents. You think people thought I'll come and defend myself? No, I am not UDP. To defend, I'm not PWIS. No, you don't. You are not strategic. You don't do that. It's for daylight today. You stand and bring everything to show people that, look, I have a foresight. That's not clouded. I am not narrow-minded. It's not about me. That's about you. People don't know me. I'm not scared of anybody. Nobody pays my bill. Why would I be scared of? People calling me self-hating. You think I don't do screenshots to come and prove to people that expect me to be a fuller I shouldn't say certain things. I don't do that. I address them. That's not who I am. I'm a Gambian. First. Then anything. I take my Christian brother and any other person before anything. It's not about the genes. It's not about my bloodline. It's about my character. It should be about our character. It's not about our bloodline. Our beliefs should be not about. It's not be about. It should not be abstract. It should be meaningful. If you call yourself a Christian, a Muslim, it should be meaningful. It's about social justice. That's where we should be converging on. The debate should not be about who is actually the creator. We all accept there's a creator. It's not about I don't debate about who the creator is. I know who my creator is. That's your private. Believe in your creator. What I believe in manifests that belief in what you do. Manifest that. That's why I hold you accountable on that. Not accountability on the scriptures. No, on what you do. You see, it brought us where we are. That fallout, the bottom factor by entrenching this government. You know, the politicians I talked about and ourselves by being divisive or falling for this divisiveness. Yes, even though Peter Isaac would say we move out of government, but if you don't do something, you are approving to say that this is my position. Yeah, that's the best that you think you have done. But I tell you that you could have done more. This is where we are now. But the bottom of the factor is this, the bedrock of what our foundations, the foundations could have been put in. You see, if there's no integrity, if we did not take time to study the topography, study the soil, to know the integrity, ingredients, the integrity of the soil, we want to put our foundation on that, not ensure that our soil foundations are just. We have put our pillars down to the bedrocks, we will fail. There's no bedrock. That's what Bartlemby did, undermine where our system should have been based on the justice. Everything drafted was for their riches. And if anybody come here and tell me Bartlemby was already rich, I will lecture you on what wealth is. We know where the dead bodies are buried. Hardly any generational wealth in that country. You might not know, but we know. Go and do an asset evaluation and see what they accumulated. But we have seen the proof again. We have seen the actors. We have seen their cronies. We have seen the nepotism. How the Jammeh assets were been this thing. How the Ghana Commission was this thing. We criticize all that. We've seen the assets. But did we have a political platform that agitated these things? No. The government was only reacting to social media as if there's no other political party on the ground. And when UDP became an opposition, what they do is just caricature UDP as an angry tribalist entity. And everybody, other parties fall for it and say, no, they are tribalists or they are angry, they would destabilize it, we have to distance ourselves. They win. You see, it's easy. That's what they talk when Moja was around, when other movements were around, when NCP was around. That was the same thing. Label them. I know Banyan Len. They are self entitled. That's why they call themselves Moja. And they don't know that majority of Moja were boys from the provinces and girls. But no, just give it a label. Then jealous. They don't even try to understand. It happens. That led us where we are today. But to the extent, looking the other way. You see, the failure of reforms and everything would be at Barthelme's doorsteps. I know that's a Barthelme factor because, you know, look, we blame the opposition. We blame, political parties, we blame the people for accepting certain things, but we have to blame Barthelme for being the architect. He was given a mandate. And do you know how big the mandate was? Transitional justice, democratization, everything was to start from there. But everything was done in a way. The timelines and everything was done so that even the first strategy was to make sure the 3 years would elapse. And Barrow had justified that I cannot leave power before. You think that didn't happen? It was done, deliberate. Everything else. One thing Barthelme was good at was knowing to put certain things somewhere and run behind the scenes and brief against his own government. He does that. That's how shrewd he is. I want to do this, but this thing. Look, if he had to take responsibility. That white paper, Jade Commission, was under his. It's the worst white paper ever, even under Germany. You know that. But he took the responsibility that should have gone to the German finance ministry, disposing of the assets. Why did he take interest in it? Because of go and check the people that who he had around to dispose of the assets. He have an interest. And go and find out the assets that were not listed to be disposed of. Who are holding those assets? Again, another thing that Gambians, and you see, that's what I'm saying. I remember a friend of mine, I said to him, be careful with Barthelme. Oh no, he's the good person in the asset. What's the proof? No, because you just listen. Oh, you know, if he resigned, I said, can you determine Barthelme's resignation? He said no. And I said, what about if Barthelme decided to resign prematurely? You think Barthelme will consult you? He said no. And what happened? Barthelme did that. And I said to him, did I tell you? He said yes. I think if Barthelme was doing anything for you or for us. No, he was doing it for himself and his cabal, cronies. From the 5 million that have never been done, a private prosecution for the NIA 9. Where is that case? Over 5 years. We all seen what's happening. But no, so-called intellectuals would still want to say Barthelme was better. We'll get to that. You see, why am I at this? Because it's the importance of the position he held. And people will realize when Mai Fatty resigned, was dismissed from cabinet, Barthelme assumed the chairmanship of the security sector reforms. Where is that again? Cronies. Everything about Padem, traveling, seminars, conferences, that's how. If you know how much millions or billions of dollars has been pumped into security sector reform. But Gambians would still tell you Barthelme was the best. Or try to blame Jallow for what is happening. If you know the role Barthelme played, in fact, to determine his successor, you'll be surprised. You know, when I came out to tell you who the two successors are, I knew who were batting for Jallow, and I knew who was batting for Cissé. And I knew Jallow was prevailing. I put out the name before. You think, how do I know that? But this went on. The reforms, the IC reforms, every reforms that needed to be done would have been done. You think, why would Barthelme abandon this this important job? The prestige. It was lucrative. The guy was traveling every day. He spent more time outside than he spent in the Gambia. He was like what we call a domicile. position he had. He spent more time outside the Gambia. It's as he have to spend more time outside Gambia. Go and do that audit. Can any Gambian go and do that audit? When he was minister, do you know he was paid for all that? Not, but we have seen what's happening. But this guy resigned from all this. For what? What job? It's a non-job. What important, what impact that job he's doing? Nothing. It's seminars and conferences that will not yield nothing, absolutely. It has never yield nothing. Can anyone tell me who was there before him? No. You think what is more important than your country that you said you having? Why did he abandon? Because he know he messed it up. He knew what we were going to. Until we hold people like that accountable, we cannot only hold Barrow accountable. Let us not be selective. We cannot only hold opposition parties accountable when these technocrats are not held accountable. You know, he had the support, the blessing, and you know, when politicians were being castigated, we thought we have someone there. We built in ourselves a strategy. Okay, whatever the case, if we have the transitional justice right, we can correct the wrongs. Guess what? We have it worse. And yes, if Gambians don't want to have the integrity or want to just to be indifferent or whatever you call it, and want to believe that these elections was free and fair, that's their problem. And that's a Gambian problem. I said it when it was happening, how it was happening. I don't have the resources to be on the ground to do the other things. Now the evidence, I know people, I mean, those critics would not even want to take that evidence. And I have not seen anybody debunked that registration have been conducted out of office hours, out of centers, not even at the centers. It's a lie. These people did not even attend the centers. You can tell. From the names, the areas been registered, and everything, you can tell the numbers and everything. You can tell this was generated. And I said this. I presented programs before, explained everything that how Yaya Jammeh was doing it, and exactly it was done. When it was happening, telling you that people were being ferried into the country. Not only that, people within the country who were not eligible to vote. We have that. We know that fact. But now we are fighting over because Barrow have insulted or ridiculed Honorable Sidia Jatta. Yes, it's wrong. But that's not new. He ridiculed Halifa Saleh before. The first was that press statement. And then Halifa Saleh talked about system change, regime change and system change. He ridiculed Dr. Cissé. He ridiculed other leaders, ridiculed Ousainou Darboe when they fell out. Ridiculed different leaders. And he have people around him ridiculing tribes, insulting different people. And they're still doing it. The last, as I told you, this insult of tribes is not representative of their tribe. It's them. They're playing a strategy. Ahmad Ba came and insulted Fullers again. Yeah, that the Fullers are the cause of the bread crisis. Now they're going to recruit 500 these things and make sure foreigners would. Why are we not telling the truth? No, because we are selective. We want to accept a different Barrow, not the Barrow we have said. But I'll tell you one thing. The outcome of these parliamentary elections can be determined by Gambians. I have not taken interest in it. As I said, I participate in things that I can impact. I am not a person that will be beating a dead horse and expecting that dead horse to rise up. And most of the things I do is not what I come and say. What I mean is, most of the work I do is consulting, working with people in order to impact, regardless of where they're. Let me just believe that if I work with you or if I empowered you, something will come out of it positive. Not regardless of politics. No, it can be in anything. I believe in empowering each other. I believe in building networks so that Gambians we can. I'm not prejudiced against immigrants or anything. I believe they have a right and then to look for opportunities. But, I mean, they should not be advantage against us. But with these elections, my predictions are here. Hence, I know we have not. When they'll deal with the voter registration, until there's a mechanism to avoid those people to turn out to vote, which might happen. The mechanism can be to speak out. Not me on social media, on the ground. To have an anti-establishment position, regardless, it's not based on political party. Being citizen to stand and advocate that they are not going to tolerate any known. Let that rubbish go because of they are holding a valid document. This is not about taking the law into your hands. Let's bring about forcing the state to act. You see, there's nothing like the after effect. We know. Look, I know that you want to tell me that I know that you stole these things because I did not capture you when you were stealing it. Now I don't have right to hold you accountable. That's what this is. You see, if you accept what the establishment dictates, just ask me what they want to do to Sonko. Now don't accept. Sonko would have been in prison. Halifa Saleh did it in prison. Even the president's son, I don't know, forget his name, Ablai Wada's son did it. He ended up in prison. Sonko stood and ready to fight. Unless we come out and voice out and appeal, we can appeal to these people, say, look, stay away. We are going to be vigilant. We are not going to accept you. And for the UDP to release the entire evidence they have, the names, and they let them duplicate it and put their pictures everywhere. It's public records. The integrity of our elections is more important because it's the stability of our country. We cannot continue this game. We did this game with Yahya Jammeh. Where did he take us? It's certain. We should cut it off. 1. 2, these people might decide, look, I don't want to have trouble. I've got my documents and everything. Let me just be silent and have benefit of it. Because now the government is trying to get revenue from them. They are saying, no, I have an ID card. I'm a Gambian. They issue them ID cards. I'm a Gambian. You see, when I was telling people, oh no, the immigration director is this, he ended up marrying Barrow's sister. And those people said, boy, just stay here. You don't understand state capture. Oh, he's a good guy. Listen, I said, open your eyes. We have lived through this in Jawara time, Yahya Jammeh time. This is not about tribe. It's about nepotism, about opportunism. You see, people have remember in late 70s, late 80s, mid 80s, Ifam would play this thing, tribalism, opportunism, nepotism, opportunism. You understand that people have understand this game before. We just refuse to accept it. It's happening. You see, these people might decide that they don't want trouble because of Gambians are vigilant. I mean vigilant, not to be going to attack people, but to be vocal. Talk about it. Appeal to them. Look, get out of this. It's not good for our coexistence. You should not undermine our integrity in the because these people, same people would vote in their elections, in the Bissau elections, in the Guinea-Conakry elections, in the Senegalese elections. They will vote for their these things. Why do we allow it? Call me xenophobic. Call me hating your own people. It's not. It's across tribes. It's not only Fulas are registered. Wolof are registered. Mandinkas are registered. Who are immigrants. Immigrant doesn't mean tribe. Who are not entitled. Who have not gone through the right process to be nationalized. That's what we ask for. Go to the right process. But no, they will come out with their excuse. Oh yeah, you are nonsense. Let that not push you an inch. It's their ignorance or their selfishness. Especially if you are in the diaspora, you think you know what it takes to have a voter right. But you want to tell me we are all the same. Rubbish. It's not about the person independently going to regularize himself to participate in the greater good. No. Someone been used by criminals to seize power. And you are making that legal? This thing might happen if we are proactive in the underground, do things that we need to do, and share information as citizens. Because if one party takes it up, they said it's the party. But it's not about UDP. It's about integrity of the elections. Whoever wins, let it win fairly. That's what we ask for. Two, these people might say, oh, I don't want to, I've got my papers, I've got everything now. And now it's about the candidate. But look at the candidates. And that's across the board. Do we think we can build a democracy on this? Do you think we can progress from this? To put totality of candidates, I cannot see 10% of the candidates even good enough to be in parliament. But this is what we have. But you see the deliberate, I mean for NPP, deliberate of the people they select. I'm not insulting anybody's this thing, but we are talking about capacity. They lack it. It was deliberate so that they would do anything they want. But I have a lesson for history for Barrow. PPP, as I always said, is the best we ever had. We haven't done better than that. It's a shame. The PPP had committed mistakes that have brought us where we are today. I'll tell you, the PPP was ahead of a lot of things in the Supreme General. We can say all that. But the mistake was complacency. And what brought the complacency was to undermine every opposition, to undermine, be the civil society, everything, to grab the power, absolute power onto themselves, and make them complacent that they are not going to lose elections because of they have monopolized the system. They have used the power of the incumbents. They have used the state machinery and everything. Where did it lead us? If democracy fails, something else come out. But this is the worst one. Because of now, PPP in fact was sitting on a better bedrock. That's why we did not sink that quick. But now we are not sitting on nothing absolutely. The criminal justice system have failed. The victims and injustice, impunity, corruption is just wildfire. That's why we see the biggest drug dealer, lawyer, and the president's lawyer are the same. That's what cartel does. That's why I told you guys the drugs were from the State House. Now they have the audacity to claim the properties. And you think, don't be surprised if the properties is returned to the wife. Why the state did not even go and try and prosecute the wife? But no, they will go and prosecute the Gambian, disadvantaged Gambian who was just doing a job, who could not have control over anything. Why the wife was not investigated? Where did the wife get the proceeds to own those properties? It's a lie. The convenient for that property, as I remember, it was done by Bartambedo himself. He knows. And the wife was not there when he was buying the property. The conveyance for the property, there are witnesses that know about these people. That's why when people say, no, Banta is not exist, I say, listen, people know them. But again, these elections would be the worst if Gambians did not go out to vote for better candidates. I say better candidates. Few people that you might say they are good candidates for the election, but that's 10%. But generally, you have few good candidates here and there. Most of what we call independents, in only few that I think from what I know or what I can get to are good. The rest are all wanting to gravitate towards the NPP after they win. That's why the NPP is going out. Don't vote for independent. They vote for independent because they don't even want those people. They already got their candidates to take a parliament. But I tell you what, as I said, even from my growing up, things that I cannot have impact on, I know where it was this thing. I take my people say to me, oh, do you really have rest? I do rest, I'll tell you. You might see me on my Facebook put something that doesn't mean that I'm not rested. I do rest. Look, I cannot burn myself out for something else. We will leave that to Gambians. People on the ground should do, what they meant to do. But I think that the opposition by now should come to realize this. And that's why I said the anger from PDIS, which I welcome. This thing should have been happening from the beginning. Stand up on an anti-establishment, hold this government accountable. But technically, I have some PDIS guys, even they acted as Barrow defenders. They acted as Barrow defenders. Barrow guys would not come around my post, but they will come and try to undermine my position or my decision. Or you should wait. Anything I dare put out, I have a reason for it. Because I'm not doing it for fame or anything. I'm not doing it to earn anything, but to try to agitate to get that greater good. And we have seen the amount of scandals. All right, every scandal I've put on, we have seen the proof. And right now, the Justice Ministry, for over a month, a junior staff been suspended. But the scandal apparently is big. In fact, it's from up to there, financial. But there's nepotism in it as well. But I keep on agitating it. Nobody will pick it up. That's how powerful some of these people are on the ground. Nobody pick it up. I give the name of the person suspended. This enough. And I tell you, I know that most of these editors or other people, so-called journalists or freelance, are seeing my post. They will not pick it up. But again, it's up to us. If nothing is done to salvage our democracy, I'll tell you the worst likely to happen in this case. Because as I said, we have dodged the bullet. We are not out of the wood. We have economic forces around. We have a lot of other problems. Look, I'm just tired. I cannot. I tell you the youths. I tell you there's a lot of factors present, and that's not good for us. And the only thing that salvages is we have a parliament that works better, in order to hold accountability, to try to do things to bring about the reforms. And so the constitution is done, and so the IEC is completely reformed, and so the voter register before any other elections is gone through. What's the problem of bring out the database? Why would any Gambian have a problem with that? Why should there be a timeline for accountability? We are not turned off to overturn the elections. No, I am saying bring out a database for people to scrutinize. Why can civil society stand up for this? Why are you not convinced? Is it prejudice? But let's move on again. This is going to be bad. We haven't got our security sector reforms. The geopolitics things are happening. The Cold War is going on. And all these things have things to do to destabilize us. But the price rises. The price rise going on. The price hike. And that's where I'm going to move on. These are going to be destabilizing. But the most fearful thing is the tribal angle here. And I tell you, Barrow have managed something. Even Yahya Jammeh technically entrenched the system, but I'll tell you, it's more fearful now than ever. And it's within our security sector. It's within every institution in that country. And it's in the head of many Gambians. They have fallen for this tribal thing. And I tell you, I don't like talking about certain things because I don't want the things to happen and they think that, look, I have a hand in it. I don't have a hand in it, but I know certain things, if it happens, I'll tell you, we will regret it. The amount of heavy weapons in that country, you will be surprised. The Gambia Armed Forces is not disarmed. What they did, they put a mechanism. I'm not going to talk what the mechanisms are. People in the army know. Some people in the army knows, in fact, some don't. They put a mechanism. But the mission creep of economic, all the boiling in the armed forces, the tribal sentiments within the armed forces is scary. and the youth. It's scary. And the amount of people that left the armed forces and active in uniform is scary. And if you know something that Jammeh did, personal training received by some of these people, individuals. Look, there are a lot of, I even said overtrained personnel in the armed forces, commandos, overtrained commandos for what we need at present. Senior defense, look, we have to be careful. We just have to be careful. But what is about to happen, and it's not only unique to Gambia, is this already starting to destabilize Pakistan. Egypt is a threat. Sudan is a threat. Most of these countries dependent on wheat. You know bread. You know what they nar and muru. You know this Mediterranean people and bread. They consume bread with everything. Thank you. Gambia is taking time on. The price rises. The corruption would not be, it's not sustainable already, and it's going to get worse. And if Barrow have what he wants in parliament, just it will be steroids. And to give an example, this government have not subscribed a short-term measure because they don't have the budget line. Everything is just overspent. They went into this election and overspent our money. Committed projects that they cannot sustain because of no international community will give them money for those. The money that wears, look, I'm not going to take the IC today and OIC today, I'm going to come back for them. These people are petty. They're criminals and petty. I'll come back for them. I've seen their press release. And let Gambians buy after the press release. They will never give you a date. You think you are hosting a major summit and you still don't have a date? Do you know what it takes for those people, important people, to settle their calendar? The Gambia doesn't have a date, and you want to believe that we're going to hold a successful one? Probably we will have some minor ministers and minor presidents coming for it. But another day. What I'm saying is, these people are not subscribing anything because they don't have the budget line. The tax revenue, I know they keep on giving tax. You see, it's easy to give someone a target that is achievable. But look, we are not collecting the tax we're supposed to be collected. And in fact, we are collecting tax where the tax burden is even bigger from the small traders. The biggest people are not paying the tax. Those are the people giving the awards, are not paying the tax. They're lying. They might tell you that they're paying 1 million, 10 million, 15 million, 50 million, but probably they're meant to pay 150 million. And these are the patrons of the government. I seen what some Gambia have put a post on that. Brilliant. And these things have implications on our price index. Because businessmen give money to political party for a favor. We have even seen that in corporate America. We have seen it in the United Kingdom. That's why they always get bailed out. Because they are the political patrons of the political parties. You see, it's no difference, but it's worse in Africa. Now, these projects they went on, look at all the roads, Hakalang, all these roads, everything was based on what? Borrowing. Domestically. That's the cause of the inflation. There's nothing for a contingency plan. They continue to spend this way. Look at all the increases in the budget. For areas they increase. President's office, they special disbursements they put around. That's what they do. They don't have a room to maneuver unless they go and redraw the budget. A serious government would have gone and redraw the budget. Cut everything else and put it where it's supposed to be. And make sure you collect the taxes you need to collect to go that way. And then at least that will cushion in something. Cushion in something for the people. And be truthful to the people that yes, there is a global problem. Now this is we have to take a hit. This is what we can afford to cushion. This is our decision. But now we realize we have to do more. How long does it take to build a value chain on producing oil, wheat, and other things? Probably wheat might take a little bit of experiment, but we can start with our coups and other things that we know that is already performing well in the country. Probably wheat might take a little bit of agricultural research to do, but we know corn, coups, and millets and other things, or whatever you call them, are things that we can do that. When we invest rice, we can invest, and it start to turn over. Put the money in there. Sunflower and different oils. We know we can, sunflower used to, I don't know now, we sesame seeds. Everything else can be planted in the Gambia. Tried for a long time, but that will not gonna happen. What this government came out with, you see, that's why I said Barrow is not our only problem. A minister of trade, someone they credit for being educated very highly, this thing, yeah, let it be. But if the person lacks integrity, it's nothing. This person came out to say that they have a bilateral agreement with Freetown, Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone don't produce oil. They import oil. Now, these people, Gambia was the champion of re-export trade. Gambia was the champion of re-export trade. Our economy was on agriculture and re-export trade, and the force of a kind in West Africa. Re-export trade, we were. Our GDP was based on agriculture and re-export trade. Then we add tourism on it. Now we are saying that if you go and look at the trade deficit, Gambia and Freetown, go and find out from the colonial to the First Republic, what do we import from Freetown? The certain kind of cloth tube, cola nut, and certain things. Yes, we used to. Go and find out what we used to export to Freetown. Things we import. No. Now, they said that a company, I think the company is Romanian. I've done a little bit of Google, but there's not much content on them. I think Romanian. They are like just these supermarkets you have in the Gambia. They import. They don't have agricultural fields. They don't have value chains. No, they go and buy and export. They buy, import it to Freetown. And now we are saying that we have a bilateral agreement with who? For land re-export. For those companies to divert 20 containers, whatever it is, to the Gambia. And if that's the solution, and to reduce the price for what? And how can you determine that reduced price? 20 containers, how much liters is there? What stops someone buying that thing and sell it at retail? How many people would resell it? Anyway, this is the sad part of it. We call it, they say that that's what the interventions are. They do. If we don't fight the corruption, and redraw our budgets and prioritize, and that's not going to happen because they don't care about the people. Once we are divided, we can easily be distracted. We can keep on blaming each other. I think this is time for unity of purpose, to hold Barrow accountable, to hold this government accountable in order to have our democracy restored, in order to ensure that change is possible through the ballot box. Gambians can choose for their right change. And final note, what I'm going to say here is, I know we keep on holding UDP, PDIS, and Barrow accountable. I think it's time now for all the small political parties to be honest to themselves. They might have the good of intentions, but I said it here before. Before we try to form political parties, we should understand. I know some of us are political scientists or anything, but I think we spend too much time in the classroom. Let us look at the practicality of things, sustainability of things, wanting to become a president. If you have that ambition, you fail. You wanted to take a leadership, and you might happen to become a president from that leadership. African politics is expensive. Look at the sustainability of it. Your party. Don't be carried away by the feedback you have with some people who are close to you, your friends. That euphoria of, yeah, we can, you are popular, we can. every Gambian has someone they believe in. I'll tell you, some Gambians believe in me to tell me you should form a political party. That's their understanding. I know probably there's something but you think I'll be fool enough even to? No. I know where my strengths are, but it's easily carried away. I know Gambians who come around many times there, let's form our party. It's not easy. I'll tell you. I've done my exploration. I've written 3 documents, strategy documents looking at it, how to build an anti-establishment. I understand how it's going to be built. I understand. I've done a report evaluating all the existing political parties, evaluating the positions and what positions can be taken here, where an establishment can be fitting, how an anti-establishment is going to be formed in order to be successful, and the position, strategy, and anti-establishment going to apply to be a catalyst to change. Catalyst to change, not winning the elections, which might be possible, but will bring in change within our political discourse. That's where I am. That's where I am. I had to study it, look at it. Yes, this is what then I can see if it's possible or what is possible. The people like SFL should come back to people and tell them, look, it was an adventure I gave up, but not to cool it off like this. It's demoralizing for other people who might want to venture there. The likes of Dr. Cisse should come and tell us where they want to go with their party. But another thing is the reform. I know it's a big thing. But until it's a difficult thing to swallow, I know when you build something, fight for it, build it, but be careful. I always said it's not yours. It should be for the people. That's what democracy is. And this goes for PDOIS and it goes for UDP. By December, and by now the work should be done, to show Gambians, you show your party, go to your internal party systems, but broaden your reforms to bring people on board for that change of leadership. We have to accept it. It's not an insult to the leaders. They have done their bit. You see, one thing I tell about leadership, at times they need to be helped to rescue them. We have to give them incentive. That's where Jawara, we failed Jawara. Jawara was not given an incentive. Jawara was meant to believe that he is the power apparent. It's him. If not, there's no one for PPP. You see, if we had give Jawara the incentive to believe that there's dignity in retirement, you have achieved. And your achievement is not to be a president. Your achievement is what you have made possible to change. What you have made possible to be impacted. What you have grown as a party. It's not your personal property. It cannot be your personal property. And a meaningful change should come in the true and democratic. Internal. I know Gambia, we are very good at school. We learn. One thing we are good at, and I tell people is, and that's goal for all political parties. You know, when CA was coming with their convention, we had this, and I laughed. And I gave my prediction to someone, and they all came out. Even better than I never thought. UDP would do the same thing. PDIS would do the same thing. Because they want to hold on to something. Look, if as individuals, I said, as a group within the party want to believe that you have ownership of the party. You want to believe that there's a certain ideology or some representation that you hold. You are wrong. You will fail. Consult the party, leave the democracy of the party to bring that out. I know we want to jealously hold on to certain things, but it's not our control. If we want to control that, we'll fail. And I give another example of this in the evolution of the Labour political party to the new Labour. It does not actually, if you handle it, does not actually break the party completely. Yes, it might be this thing, but the skill of leadership will bring it together again. You know, when Labour Party was absolute, they have the Michael Foot, Neil Kinnock, and everything. Labour was not electable again. Conservative have done 18 years going up. They have what they call the new Labour. You don't need to brand the name, put the name. You don't need a new PWIS, new UDP. But there's something new you need. And politics goes with generations as well. We don't expect to have a certain set of executive and expect to see change. The leadership have to reflect the nation in generation, in everything else. But again, it's about merit. And we should always think of the character of people that we empower as leaders. It is off-putting. And I tell you, the reason is, even if they happen to take you to the promised land to win an election, those people would break your party and your party would not represent anything. That's what I said. If your party means to deliver, don't shy away from holding the bar high based on merit, the character of your people that you put forward, not based on the instant popularity within the grassroots, instant popularity within. That's what is happening now. That's what we see in our parliaments. There's no radical change. There will be no radical change. But one thing was, Smith, Tony Blair, Robin Cook, Gordon Brown, generation of leaders went to the conventions. They had to fight against the union. They have to fight against the far left because they want to reposition the party. They want to reposition the party in the middle. And that reposition of the party means the ideology, philosophy, and everything. Start to incorporate certain things that were not. It's not about their socialist ideas or these things. You look, even the Tories were branding them socialists or everything, but no. I mean, the private sector, the other things, they have to see certain things about coming out with talking about ethical foreign policies and other things. They brand them, bring it up. They're money to win, and they hold on to this thing. But again, the character of Gordon Brown and others, he's still consistent. His integrity is intact. But unfortunately, as it is, the party went on to empower an individual. Tony Blair became a president rather than a prime minister. And his agenda and his corporate fellows, City of London and others, captured him. And now they branded Brown to be Scottish tribalist. They branded him to be not charismatic. They'll brand you anything. But he is still standing tall. The others that have integrity, have Macmillan and others decided to resign from their positions. Robin Cook and others resigned because of that ethical foreign policy. He advanced to be the foreign secretary. When they went to the Iraq war, he had to resign as leader of the house and others. You see, that's what politics is. Okay, guys, it's been a long one. I didn't want it to be this long, but this is what happened with this sort of very important narratives. Again, what we call for is unity of purpose. And we have to understand the Barrow we have. We can react to whatever he says. That's not the issue. I think we should come back together and refocus and hold accountability, the systems, and so change. And we hope that these elections, parliamentary, it's not hopeful, I know. Because I said the electoral decision is always good. But if some interventions can be done, something might be salvaged. And once we have the parliament, then we can dictate the reforms we want, at least to salvage. But if we fail to that too, I'll tell you, Gambia, let's ready for it. We're going to roll again. We're going to roll again. I know some people run with to their forums. They run with they say, oh, Ben Swara is calling for this. Who cares? I'm not calling for it. I'm telling you what the facts are. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.